Hello, David Legan here to talk about the Grape inquiry for August of 2019, also internally known as Grape AP. This is essentially just an ag yield survey for grapes. Project code is 134 for non-citrus fruit survey. Questionnaires will be mailed out around July 24th, and as usual we have that web option if they want to report online. Information will be released with the crop production report on August 12th of this year. All right, and we have a bunch of 2018 grape info for you. Last year, doing the survey, we found that there were 937,000 bearing age acres of grapes in the U.S. California was comfortably sitting at number one with 863,000 of those, of which nearly 600,000 were for wine. Washington was number two with 74,000 acres. Yields were averaging 8.1 tons per acre, or 16,220 pounds per acre, whichever way you'd like to think about that. Total production was just over 7.6 million tons, and California accounted for 88% of the total production. For screening, the survey will ask if they had any grape acres, and if no, we'd want to know if the operation will have grapes in the future. There is no other screening to find out why they don't have grapes or what happened to the operation, so please inquire and leave notes so the record can be properly updated. All right, and we do have some additional screening for California operations. The question asks, is this operation a vineyard management firm? If yes, we would like them to complete the form for all operations managed by that vineyard management firm. But if no, it will ask, is this operation managed by a vineyard management firm? If yes, what is the name of the firm that manages your grapes? We'd like to know about total acres of grapes, and then we'd want to know of those how many were bearing age this year. Again, bearing age means bearing age. It doesn't necessarily mean producing, so even if they had maybe a really bad year and none of the grapes really produced, if they were of bearing age, they would still count there for that question. Then, after we get the acres, we want to know the expected total production for 2019 in both quantity and unit. Please give the name of the unit and the weight if it's not something such as pounds, tons, or hundredweight potentially. Lastly, we end with asking if they have any comments about the 2019 crop for their locality. These comments are very helpful in setting estimates on analyzing trends in the data, as well as explaining something that we might see there in their data on that specific record itself. In the survey, we have California and Washington. It's the same questions, but in California, we break it out by raisin type, table type, and wine type grapes, whereas in Washington, it gets broken out just by juice type and wine type grapes. The type of grape refers to certain varieties of grapes, not necessarily how the grapes were utilized. For example, table-type grapes have certain properties that make them very suitable to sell for fresh eating, but could also be used to make raisins, wine, or juice. If they are a table-type variety, however, they should be reported under table-type, even if they were used for one of those other purposes that we mentioned. Here are some common grape varieties. So we have common raisin types, table-type, wine type, and juice types. I myself can only recognize most of the names on the wine type. All right, and a few things to watch out for. Be mindful of any cases where the current total and or bearing acres differs greatly from the previous contact on that operation. You obviously can't have bearing acres being greater than the total acres. If you have any instances where there's a really low bearing to total acres ratio, remember that we are asking about bearing age and not what will actually bear a crop this year. So this can cause some confusion if there is such things as like a late frost, disease issues, insect issues that impact production. Once again, bearing age doesn't mean that it actually was bearing fruit that year. It just means it's of age too. If they have bearing acres reported but no production reported, that can be possible if, say, the crop was lost to a late freeze, but we would like to have there be some sort of note on that record. And yield or production seeming high or low, be mindful of that. Any type of thing where you have really low or really high numbers, you always want to inquire, figure out what's going on, and then leave a note that the statistician can see on that record. In conclusion, we are referring to 2019 crop year expected production. Watch those decimal points on acres and pounds per unit. If you encounter anything odd or unexpected, please leave a note. Make sure to do a few practices on your iPad to familiarize yourself with the questionnaire. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to contact your supervisor or regional field office. And lastly, I hope you have a great survey.